G'day everybody, well it's final thoughts time for Tapestries, Fantasies and Futures, and it's Amy and Maggie here, but guess what? We're not alone today.
We got a special guest.
A special guest, welcome to his own channel, Rahdo.
Hey everybody, hey Amy and Maggie, thank you so much. Folks, wouldn't be able to tell, it's 6 a.m. down under. They got up extra early so we could do this intercontinental final thoughts because it's the end of Tapestry!
It is
and
the final piece of the saga.
Yep. The conclusion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so the trilogy is over, and we thought we'd all get together because I think we all really love Tapestry. And, oh my gosh, you two went so above and beyond playing all the way through from start to finish. I did not expect that.
We had to see how it would play out. We just started and we just kept going, and we thought, no, we must finish.
Got swept up in the game. It's like, we might as well finish it. We might as well see how it plays out.
I mean, Maggie was so far ahead that I had to see if I could catch her. No spoilers, but it was a tight race.
It is worth sticking to the end. Because you did, in spite of technical malfunctions along the way too, so that was all fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Very entertaining. You two, are just so much fun to watch, and especially when you're playing a great game like Tapestry. So, Fantasies and Futures, what do you think?
Well, I mean, what can you say about this expansion except for starting with more is more with this game?
Yes.
More is more with the new civilizations, with the new capital cities. I just love that about this game, that you feel like you have kind of almost a new puzzle to work out when you've got that combination of those two things.
Lots of new puzzles now, because of all the different cities are a new puzzle. The different civs offer a new mix of things.
And thematically, I just love the premise for this one because the alternate realities that occur. But what would have happened if we'd discovered magic, or we'd discovered wee folk, or alternative parallel sci-fi universes? I'm sure you love that thematically.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people dismiss Tapestry as not very thematic, and I always feel bad for them if they choose to ignore that, because to me, I think actually I saw Jamie Stegmaier saying somewhere, Tapestries has always been a game about exploring alternate realities. What would humanity be like if they discovered space flight before they discovered the wheel? And I know a lot of people say, well, that's just ridiculous. I ignore it. This is an abstract track climber, but to me, I love reconciling those weird things. Well, what would that society be like? What are technocrats in the Stone Age? I don't know. Well, they're a government based on technology, based on rocks, and I mean, to me, I love that, and I've always loved the fact they didn't have to, but on every step of the track, they say, oh, and this is pottery, and this is the internal combustion engine or whatever. Yeah. It's a little thing, but, and then on top, and now for this one, where, I mean, they've done a little bit of dabbling in this in the past. I mean, there were aliens in one of the previous experiences and whatnot. There were alchemists in the original game, but now, we are the wee folk, or we are genies or whatnot, and they just really lean into that, and it's a blast. I really enjoy it a lot, especially because, like always, the way they're able to make these so thematically grounded. The way these things work, when you read the special powers are amazing, and like, oh, of course, if I were a genie, what's my special power? I let you make a wish.
Granting wishes.
Then I get a little something on the side as well. I mean, it's so smart.
Oh, the werefolk, where you're flipping the tile to see if you are giving in to the impulses.
Your nature, your basic
flipping a space tile representing the moon. Such a smart little detail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was really impressed with the Illuminati, which is the faction that I played in the playthrough, because that whole giving in, like it's like taking advantage of humanity giving into their the more base desires and their highest desires being represented by combat and science, and you're going, excellent, I win either way. It's like I had so much fun with that component. I don't know if I would say the Illuminati is actually a fictional faction. I don't actually know comment, I thoroughly enjoyed that as an introduction.
We'll get to the conspiracy theories after the
That's a separate, that's a bonus video.
Show.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, It's interesting. This is just something I want to say about Tapestry as a whole and all the expansions up till now. But it's typified by the very, very smart design of Illuminati. Because you two, your run through is Fey Folk versus Illuminati. No, it was the little people.
The wee folk, versus Illuminati.
The smart thing about Illuminati, because I hadn't played that one, so I was like, oh, good, I'm getting to see it. Because Jen and I, we played a couple games, so we've seen, and I've read all of them, and I was really excited to see Illuminati in play. Because I've always been surprised. Maggie, you especially, are so, correct me if I'm wrong, anti any of the solo elements in Tapestry, right? You don't bother with the Shadow Empire. You're not a fan of the Automa. And so I go, well, this is going to be really interesting because at first I thought when you're sitting out to play, oh, well, Illuminati's really going to be at a disadvantage because the whole point is I want other players to roll the dice. And if there's only Amy and she could wait you out or something like that, how is that going to play out? But they are so smart in the way that they say, oh, well, and if just nobody rolled the dice, you get some points.
Yeah, lots of points.
Lots of points. It was lose-lose for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Illuminati always wins, no matter what.
Illuminati always wins.
And the way, there are several cards that reference arts and architects, right? And what if you don't have arts and architects? Well, then there's these other things you can get on the cards as well. I've always been impressed that they've got the big picture in mind. But I keep talking about everything because this is the end. But we should really focus. So the new civilizations are cool. These are cool. What else do you think?
So this is really interesting. The extension of the track with the fifth,
income round sort of mini bonus step, your reserve and lay-by, book now, pay later, sort of thing. That's an interesting addition as well. I enjoy it. I don't know if it felt like I enjoyed the concept of it, going, ooh, I wonder how it's going to feel. But then I kind of felt like the games that we've played of it's been like a bit of a almost very it's little
like a
event.
Couple of bonuses at the end.
It hasn't, and I don't know, maybe it's something that then, depending on the
combination of things. Yeah, how did you find it?
Yeah.
This was on my list of things to talk about because strictly speaking, I think this is the biggest new idea in the game, right? I mean, you always expect, cool new civilizations and whatnot, but what did they do to change the game? And this idea that there are certain effects that let you bank all kinds of things. Bank actions, bank tapestries, bank buildings or whatever, and then basically at the end of the game, when the game is normally over, boom, you get a big payday. Actually, I think the coolest example of this in the whole game is the zombies, where, I don't know if you played that one. It's basically, it's a tapestry. You play it, and during that income, you lose 3 of your captured regions. They come off the board, and you put those 3 at the end. And that represents, those cities were wiped out by zombies. But then at the end of the game, the zombies come back. And so even after the game is over, you get to, I get to conquer 3 times after the game is over. If I didn't get a chance to get to the center, if I didn't get a chance to do that, and that's 3 more opportunities to roll the dice and all of that. So I love that. And in theory, it's great because it ensures that your game, if you get a chance to do those, is going to end with a bang. Okay, I've squeezed everything out, and then boom, all that stuff that's been laying by the side, I finally now get to deploy that. My only complaint is not with the idea. I think the idea is great, but I actually counted it. I think there are, if I recall correctly, 38 new cards, 38 new Tapestry cards. If I recall correctly, only 11 of them have that function.
Yeah.
And so it is very likely when you add these to the already huge brick that you could play many games and never see that effect come up. And that's a shame.
That's what it felt like the experience. It's like you never got a whole amount of things collecting there where all of a sudden it's like this, whoa, like I get to do all these things to surprise things at the end. It's only ever, even playing with that whole deck, it's only ever maybe like a couple of things that are sitting there. So I think it'll be good for those like tie games, like very, very close games where all of a sudden, this tips you over the edge and it's like a surprise sort of thing. But I think part of me kind of wished that it had more of an impact at a broader level, not just for those sort of tied games. Yeah.
I love the idea of it. I mean, honestly, I think it might be my favorite. Prior to this, my favorite thing in all the expansions was the idea that was in Arts and Architecture, A&A, of, hey, you can do different things with all these cool little miniature buildings. They don't just have to be a Tetris game. You can use them to, advance technologies. Or you can use them to complete, and I loved that. And I mean, this to me, I think, is just as meaningful and impactful if they had just leaned into it more. It felt like, boy, I can't wait for the next expansion where they really start stretching this and
no, there's no more expansions. So sad.
Well, the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, which is something that I enjoy more than Amy does, is the charmed tapestry. So you know how now we have tapestries that have a little charmed little ability that then as you play them, it can trigger based on, if it's sitting on the left, if you had a tapestry already on the left, or on the right, if a tapestry gets played to the right of it. Right. I actually quite enjoy that that little element.
How could you not?
Yeah.
How could you not? Well, they grew on me. At first I was like, oh no, it's just like a little extra bonus. But then I enjoyed the interactivity with the new tech cards where you can't upgrade the tech card unless you have a charmed tapestry played. And sometimes you don't get a charmed tapestry for a while. So you have to think about the order in which you're drafting the tech cards and playing your tapestry cards. So I did start to enjoy them more as I worked through that complexity. But
some of the benefits are also much better than others. Sometimes you kind of get one there like, this is, it's like a resource essentially, but some of them are actually quite powerful. So you're like, I really want to make sure I play this. So I enjoy that.
And to that point I made before, almost all of them have these. There's only there might not be any of them that doesn't have a charm on one side or the other.
Yeah.
And so I like that too. And it's interesting. That's probably, I like this in theory. The way they interact with the tech cards is maybe my least favorite thing about this, because to me, the most interesting, or one of the more interesting elements of just the base game is the passive interactivity that comes from the fact that I can't get this technology up to level 3 until Amy, would you please just explore one more time? What are you waiting for? Come on, I can't drag this out forever. And so, the fact that you are reliant on your neighbors for almost all of your high-level technologies, I've always thought was great. And I assume for some people, and maybe this is true for you, that this is really wonderful because, now there are all these new techs that I don't care what my neighbors are doing.
Yeah.
It's all about what I choose to do. And I was really surprised by that. I was very surprised at the very least that it's not that, if I do a charm or if one of my neighbors do a charm. Something like that I appreciate, I'm more self-reliant, but I become more insular and I'm not as connected to everybody else. And I mean, it's fine. I really enjoy the puzzling of, I want to play this right now, but I won't be. I need to get something else in place so I can play it as my third one, so that my second one can get a double bonus. And it creates more interesting timing. I love all of that. Yeah. I was just really surprised that the technologies kind of jettison one of the cooler elements of the game, the implicit interactivity. Although, interestingly, for folks like you, who I'm sure play occasionally 2 players and refuse to use the shadow player, on principle, you're probably happy to have these, because that's one of the most important things about the shadow player is not creating more pressure to race to get the monuments on the tracks. It is because, the shadow player also works their way up the track. So the shadow player is a neighbor. So if Amy will never take that last exploration step, maybe the shadow player will. And because right from the get-go, the shadow player's specialty is the military. They love that. That's their favorite. That's what they're going to focus on. I bear that in mind when I'm grabbing technologies. Well, the shadow player will probably be able to get to level 3. With these new ones, it's only a question of whether I'll be able to get these things played.
I like that about them. And they're surprising. They're very powerful, and the fact that you turn them over just feels so, the one-off powers where you turn them over and you're like, but it's usually you get to move up some tracks. They're really good bonuses.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that about them. Yeah. I think I like it more than the arts and architecture ones where you had to build a what do they call landmark onto the actual card. That was so difficult. It's like I find this much easier than that element.
If anything, it felt very uniform, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like absolutely every single card, all the new techs only have that same requirement of you just have to have built a charm tapestry and that's it. And it almost felt like too simple. It's like I almost kind of wanted a bit more variety. It just,
It looks like, every single one of them is that requirement that you can either play them, at the end of the game, or you can play them if you yourself have done a charm. And then really the only difference is some of them, like you said, the more powerful ones you've got to flip because you can only use them once.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm happy for them, and I guess it creates a different feel. But anytime a game puts something in that makes me care less about what my opponent is doing, it makes me say, well, why did you do that? I used to care what Jen's, where she was on tracks. But if I can really focus on these, now to be fair, there aren't very many of them. There's I think 12 of these. So, once they get shuffled in with all the other stuff from all the other expansions,
they're scattered throughout that deck,
Exactly. But, so I like them in theory, and you're right. I mean, they are some very, very cool powers. Definitely. So what else do you think?
I love the new capital cities. They're one of my favorite elements of the game. This just personal little puzzle that you have to work through with the income buildings and all of the landmarks. But this Netherworld, I absolutely love this one, which is the one I used during the run through, which is the one where you're connecting the imps to the city capital in the center. Yep. I adore it. I don't know why, but I just find it so much more satisfying connecting the paths than I do filling the squares in the original. I don't know what it is about it. And you get 2 resources, and it just feels like, yes, I'm going to elongate this turn so much more than I thought I was going to be able to. So I really love that.
I agree. Even though I like City in a Bottle, which was the sort of the main one that I played, it still just feels like the classic. You're filling out your squarish or rectangular districts. I do enjoy things like the new Polar city, where it's like, now the districts, they can give you 1 or 2 resources, and they're more about connecting that path.
Yeah, so, and the Savannah, which is the unicorn herd that causes That's so great, and you get a reoccurring income, so that that's always welcomed. More stuff, more of the time. So I really enjoy those.
The thing is, and I think Amy, when you suggest, well, I really like them more. I'm not sure why, or why these elevate so far above what's come before, and I completely agree. The answer is the love of your life sitting right next to you. These are so much more thematic. All of them, up until now, have been much more abstract. Well, it's literally just a Tetris puzzle that's supposed to somehow represent one city, but it is a task you're going through. Where, in the Netherworld, no, I'm trying to destroy these demons. I've got to get my central citadel to get rid of the demons, and it feels like, to me, that's what I love about them more than anything else. I mean, I've always thought, again, they're always very clever the way a swamp feels different than a desert or whatever, but these ones tell a much more engaging story because they're really pushing the and making more unique puzzles than they've ever been before. That Netherworld, I'm not going to fill up any areas here. Because instead I'm gonna fight demons or the City in the Bottle. Oh, we're so tiny.
No landmarks here.
No landmarks.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So I think overall, I think it's one of those games where if you love the base game, you're gonna love. This is going to just bring more goodies to the base game experience. So I sort of can't fault it from that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would. So we've had 3. We've had Plans and Ploys, Plots and Ploys. I remember Ploy was in the name.
Plans and
Ploys.
Arts. Yeah, and Arts and Architecture, we've had this. The first one and the third one, I think, are very much of the, hey, here's more of what you love.
Yes.
The second one said, hey, let's blow your mind as to what this game could be. Let's add like a 5th track and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then let's add a story mode for solo while we're at it. I mean, the second one was definitely the most ambitious. And, so I can imagine some people might be disappointed where, wow, if they started out small, Plans and Ploys was kind of a, just a kind of a standard more stuff, and then they really blew it out. You'd expect, wow, what are they going to do for the third one? They're like, well, no, they're not ending with a whimper at all, but they're not like taking it to, I never thought this could be Tapestry. And so that was kind of surprising, but I mean, to me, it makes sense, especially because we haven't talked about this at all. We only talk about the gameplay.
Yes.
But can I take a second to say?
Oh yes, I'm so glad.
Yes.
Is
the sustainability
it is phenomenal
of the packaging. Yes.
Board game industry. Please pay attention to this. don't leave Jamie hanging as the only person who realizes that, hey, I mean, I have to assume this probably cut his production costs hugely because we don't need all these expansion boxes. I have a mountain of expansion boxes up there that I just can't bring myself to throw away, but I don't use because everything goes in the main box. So make it super sustainable. I mean, I love how Stonemaier Games, I've seen this in a couple of their games now, they don't ship with plastic baggies anymore. They have these weird kind of, they feel kind of plastic, but they're really from recycled like seaweed or something like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this is all I needed. This to have all the stuff inside of it is a great job. Oh, and then one other thing. I love this.
Oh, the
yes.
total rulebook.
The new
one rulebook to rule them all.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. Great call.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is so great, especially the component list as well. Just having everything and remembering, you know, which bits, if you don't want to include everything, it makes it much easier to take things out.
Yeah.
Remember to take things out.
Yeah.
No, it's so good to have it all in one place. It's a great reference. But I just want to touch on the sustainable packaging as well, because I 100% agree with you. So many people just throw out the boxes, the plastic that comes in them. And even though it's probably cheaper production for him in this envelope, I guarantee it's not a cheap journey to look into all of these different alternatives. So I really admire, you know, what he's trying to do to just not make it easy and just be like, I'll have 5,000 plastic pieces, just, you know, business as usual. So I when I tore open that envelope, it just felt like this is the way it should. All expansions 100%. Should be.
The only thing on my mind is this is annoying that it might be an issue, is the display in retail of like, how do you display this in retail in a way that makes it easier for
that's
the
a good
retail?
point.
So I don't know how that's going to play out, but again, it's like that's the only possible downside, which is like, well, but it's really worth figuring out because the actual upside of it is so great. Yeah.
Hugely. That's a really good point. Now, of course, something that Stonemaier doesn't really worry too terribly much about, because it seems like the majority of their business model is, you know, direct sales to the end users.
And people who are looking for it will find it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They'll be coming to the store looking for that, not like going, let me see what I feel in the mood for. Oh, man, what is this?
Whereas a smaller publisher who, look, we had a modest hit, and we're like so excited that we can get this expansion out. We really need to stand out on store shelves.
Yes.
That is a good counterpoint. So, all right, well, sometimes the old ways we can't let go.
It's just something worth figuring out. Yeah, it's just we just need to figure it out and then make it work.
Yeah. Well, cool. Do you have any other thoughts? I have one question for you.
Yeah.
This is the end, my friends. So, rank them. Least favorite to most favorite. The expansions. And folks, they had no idea I was going to ask them.
Yeah.
So,
no, we really came out of left field.
I have to give it to arts and architecture.
I would have to agree, because like bringing in that whole extra track, but also it's arts, so that's very close to my heart.
It's so colourful as well. And there's all the little images I really like with the landmarks. You now have your private landmark that you start with, the landmark card. So I really enjoyed that about it. So it's nice to have something to work towards right from the beginning.
Yeah, so I would rank that as
now landmarks. Landmarks came out in Plots Employees, right? I'm pretty sure.
But the private one, I believe, the starting one. Yeah. And I also just love the fact that all of the landmark buildings are throwbacks to Stonemaier games. That is like my favorite thing. So you've got the little Charterstone house, and all the different, the bird watching tower. I sound like a themer. What's wrong with me? Must be.
I know. Swapping roles. Yeah. Please, Maggie, tell us more about the intricate mechanisms.
Well, I agree. Track, really.
And for me, the other thing about arts and architecture, besides the fact that my wife is a professional glass artist, and if we throw that in, she is always going to play with that and push that purple track more than anything else. To me, actually, what surprised me most was something else to do with the buildings, as opposed to, I mean, I love the Tetris gameplay and trying to fill the rows and columns, but I thought, do I do that? Or do I push this technology to level 3 and sacrifice the Space Needle or whatever it is?
Yeah.
I thought that was still, I think, the biggest, most impactful change that's been made so far. So anyway, we all agree, number 1, still arts and architecture.
Yeah.
And now the tough one, what's your number 2?
Well, for me, actually, this would be number 2. I think I would...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so like, it's just purely because I really enjoy, as you said, like the thematic elements in the civilizations and in the
civilizations
in the cities.
are great in this one. The only reason why I'm pausing is that bag for the tiles.
Did that come with plans?
That came with plans and toys.
Okay, yeah, that is very helpful.
Yes,
you can
that's
get the
true.
bag, but I did love that as an addition.
That was very helpful. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yep, I cannot imagine going back to just the big pack, stack of tiles.
We did it for the run through because we're trying to kind of not
strip it back.
it back to base.
Just get back to basics, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that.
I would agree. I think this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with plans employees or plots employees or P&P. I thought that was great too. Introducing the idea of personal objectives and all of that. But to me, it's probably my least favorite because it's probably its biggest addition, new concept was the hey, let's throw in more ways I can screw you over. Cards.
Yeah.
Which honestly, for Amy, I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe that's her favorite. As a result.
The trap and then the other cards are like, aha, kind of moments.
Aha.
Yeah, that
Welcome
was
to
fun.
the party, I think was one of them, right? Or the one with the big tank. With, oh, let me destroy you now.
Yeah.
And obviously for me, can we just put all those at the bottom of the deck along with the traps? Do we need any of this stuff?
Yeah. I think it doesn't.
Peaceful.
It doesn't go as well with the rest of the game because the rest of the game is about strategizing and thinking out your next 5 moves, and that's really annoying when that gets disrupted. So
yes,
just having to deal with the trap cards is annoying enough. Yeah, but I feel like for this type of game, this one has to take it for the Sims for me. Second place.
Well. Yeah. All right, there you go then, folks. I think we have a 3-way agreement. So, do you have any final thoughts? One more thing I should say. We said right up front, supposedly this is the 3rd and final expansion. It's not the end for Tapestry, though, because I was literally just reading this morning that sometime later this year, Stonemaier is going to be releasing, I believe, a Civilization pack with all the older ones with the new updates for the balancing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Of course, they're all summarized right here on the super rule book, the one book to rule them all. But I believe that's coming later this year for folks who are like, I don't want to have to check this to know what I should do to infiltrators or what have you. That's still coming. But otherwise, I'm really happy. I think this is a great send off to one of my this has been my top 50 games since the first time I played it. A Civilization game that doesn't have to be all about destroying. I mean the way that the player combat is actually the more aggressive thing in the game is not me attacking you, but you preventing my attack. Because it's not really hurting you that much if I attack you. Why are you doing this? It's hard to get 10 points.
Trying to get those 10 points. Give me those 10 points.
Exactly. So any more closing thoughts for you? Because if not, then we're all going to say goodbye, folks. But you'll want to stick around because we're going to have an appendix. After the Aussies leave, I'm going to put every single card and every single civilization on screen so you can pause and read them so you know everything. You can see exactly what you get with this expansion. So, but before we do that, any closing thoughts?
No, I feel like this just rounds out the game and it didn't disrupt anything that we love about the game, so it feels good to go out on this high.
If anything, I felt more thematically invested than I have before, because I was probably one of those people who were like, this doesn't feel like, Tapestry doesn't feel that thematic to me usually. It's just like, you're kind of going up tracks. I don't mind it. I enjoy it. But now I'm like, I'm invested in my
I'm
Sims.
the Illuminati. Look at me go.
Then it has succeeded. I think you're right. More than anything else, this really brings theme, and such a fun theme.
And mission to those cities. Like now you actually have a reason for going about that puzzle. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for having this discussion. It's always great to do this together.
Yeah.
Well, thank you two for going above and beyond. And a special thanks to Maggie. I can't imagine how much editing you did to that magnum opus. That has to be the biggest video you have done for the channel yet.
Oh, well. What's a whole weekend gone? There's plenty of them in a lifetime, it's all.
I don't pay you enough, obviously, so we'll have to work something out afterwards. But then I'm just going to say thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. So long, goodbye. And you could say goodbye as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, and see you for more board game content soon. Bye for now. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Okay, folks, now it's just us, and without comment, I am going to let you see every single card that comes with this game and all the other stuff too. And aren't Amy and Maggie amazing? By all means, folks, hit that eye in the top right corner of the screen. Go check out their channel. Go check out their earlier videos for Tapestry and its expansions. They are just the best. I am so lucky, so fortunate to have them on the channel. But anyway, enough of that. Let's, is green screen working? Yes, it is. Alrighty, so. And the idea is you can just pause if you want to read about the genies or what have you. Well, I think for some players, the psionics are going to be a very get rid of all randomness in the game, practically. Oh, and we didn't even talk about the, oh yeah, we kind of did talk about that, so. And there's Maggie's favorite. This might be my favorite, just for thematic reasons, because I certainly plan on being an elder one. And then, yeah, the hilarious werewolves. Okay, and here we go to the Netherworld. An absolutely awesome one, as Amy pointed out. And kind of its sister location, the Savannah. And then there's actually another one that's all about covering things up or not covering things up. The Quagmire, where you must protect the wisps. You know, they're, not upset the ecosystem. And then Polar Tracks. See in the bottle, of course, you saw that in the run-through. It's interesting that that turned out to be the box cover art, too. I guess Jamie really loves it. And then the veil. Okay, cool. And now, new technologies. Here we go. Pyrokinesis. Object cloning. Transmogrification. And again, all of these say basically the same thing. They're just a text description of what this is here. Teleportation, levitation, remote viewing, weather control, super speed, superhuman strength, mind control, golem minions, and perfect memory. Okay, and then the big one, that's the name of the game. Let's look at some tapestries. Oh, you know what? And let's turn off the green screen so we just don't have to worry about green cards like that. Okay, here come 3 more. Especially like that one, or the art of it. Very evocative. And the ghost towns, too. Spooky! Okay, there we go. And, folks, that is it. Thanks for watching. Have a very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.